This is an ABC News special report. California's shooting rampage. Now reporting, George Stephanopoulos.
And we are coming on the air right now because we're about to hear from law enforcement officials on the scene in San Bernardino. Right there is Chief Jared Bergwan of the San Bernardino County Police Department. Major new development today. We've learned for the first time that the wife of that couple, Tafshin Malik, did pledge allegiance to ISIS the morning of the attack. I'm here with our chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross.
They just discovered this in the last 12 to 18 hours. Facebook executives actually saw the posting on Thursday, took it down and notified the FBI shortly thereafter.
Let's listen to the chief.
Address that right now. On Monday night, Tuesday morning before the incident, so November 30th, December 1st, right around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, there was an incident at the Regal Cinema in downtown San Bernardino at 4th and East Street. And what that case was is that a gentleman that was described as appearing to be Middle Eastern came up and spoke to the
working with our foreign partners on that. I can only hear one at a time, guys.
The family and their lawyers question the veracity of the terrorist connection. Is there anything there? What do you have to say to that?
They question the veracity of their locations. Okay, so yes, yeah, good question. Yesterday, I said to you, the FBI is an organization that is apolitical. We are a fact-finding organization, and we deal in facts. I don't have all those facts yet, so I don't know the answer to the question you just asked me.
Can you tell us about the ISIS has claimed responsibility? Do you have anything on this?
Not unusual that they would.
Website, the AMOC, that's their official website where they post all their videos. They've claimed responsibility.
I'm not surprised. I've not heard of that yet, but I'm not surprised if they would claim. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But again, it only helps them to be able to attach themselves to an act like this. I don't know the answer.
The rifles. Is someone detained that gave them the rifles?
There is a person of, we don't know, okay, let me go back on that one. There's some differentiations there. There is a person that we know of their location who purchased those weapons, but I'm going to let ATF answer the questions on the guns because that's what they're here to do.
In custody?
They stopped shooting inside the room.
Person is not under arrest at this point.
So they are in custody, being questioned?
They're not under arrest at this point.
Why do you think they stopped shooting inside that room?
I don't know the answer.
With that Facebook post, did they pledge allegiance to either ISIS or Baghdadi or any other principle connected specifically with any known terror organization?
I'm aware of the Facebook post you're mentioning, and I saw the same thing you did. We don't know what's there yet. We're still continuing to look into that.
Mark Zuckerberg confirms that that post had been made, and
Yes.
that it had been made just as the attack had been starting.
I know it was in a general timeline where that post was made, and yes, there was a Pledge of Allegiance.
Do you know how long
Next
they're
question.
planning?
Yeah.
Worried about the dynamic of marriage, because there's a lot of curiosity there, and some people are saying that perhaps the wife may have influenced him. Can you give us any more insight?
I've been asked that, and I don't know the answer, whether she influenced him or not. Being a husband myself, we're all influenced to an extent, but I don't know the answer.
But as what you've learned about her, has that influenced your belief more so that this was an act of terrorism as you learn more about her?
We're investigating it as an act of terrorism for good reason.
Have you found any investigation prior to this?
Pardon me?
Had the FBI known of her, aware of her before? Has she been under investigation prior to this? Before in any
We
time?
did not have her under investigation previously. I'm going to take 3 more questions, and then I'm going to end it. Yes, sir.
They were under the radar.
The telephones were found near the center or near the townhouse?
I believe they were found near the townhouse.
Are you concerned that they were flying under the radar?
Pardon me?
Are you concerned that they were flying under the radar? That you didn't know that they were active?
Well, of course I'm concerned. Any one of us would love to have stopped this act. When you go into a crime scene like that, it's one of the most heinous things you'll ever see. It's horrific.
That you had no awareness that you weren't tracking them, that they weren't on your radar.
Of course I'm concerned. We didn't know. There's nothing that we've seen yet that would have triggered us to know.
The government's spending so much
Yes,
money
ma'am.
on surveillance.
The existence of a cell?
Pardon me?
Do you believe in the existence of a cell?
We,
Which they would be a member?
we don't know. What I can tell you is we are not aware of any further threats in the U.S. at this time. And I want to go back to your point, ma'am. You said the government spends a lot of money on surveillance. We are also, the FBI is also a federal law enforcement agency that is bound by federal law. So we don't do wide sweeping, massive surveillance without legal process. Next question. Last question. Yes, ma'am.
Speak to this community who is now listening to this transition that this is indeed an act of terror. What, in practical terms, does that mean for them?
So what I would say, first of all, I think this community, I'm going to leave that to the chief and the sheriff to deal with and talk about. They are the true protectors of this community. I would say to this community, you've been incredibly resilient. We are with you. We stand by you. We are focused. The FBI's #1 mandate is to protect the homeland from attack, and we will absolutely engage whenever we see potential threats. As the director has said many times, we have a number of terrorism investigations across the country currently that are going on. That does include extensive surveillance. So what I would tell the community, to answer your question completely is I would tell them, continue to do what you do. If you see things that are concerning, push them up to local law enforcement immediately. If they rise to a certain level, or if you want to push it to both the FBI and local law enforcement, feel free to do that. These are your protectors. But do as you do normally. Go about your day. Do not let this cause mass hysteria. We're not there. We're not there at all. We have a long-term, very complex investigation that we have to complete. And that's going to take time and a lot of energy and a lot of hours and a lot of agency expertise. But I assure the American public, we will do everything in our power within the law to get that done. Thank you for your time. Next, I would like to introduce Sheriff John McMahon.
Thank you, Dave. Very good question, and that's why we're here today. My primary responsibility and the primary responsibility of the law enforcement leaders you see behind me is to ensure the safety of the public that we serve. You've already heard there's apparently evidence to suggest that there's a terrorist connection to this event. We have no known credible threats to the communities that we serve. I would ask that the community remain vigilant. Don't hesitate to report any suspicious activity to the local law enforcement. We have added additional resources, as had my partners from law enforcement that stand behind me, to ensure that we have the staff necessary to investigate and to protect the communities that we serve. We have nothing to suggest there's anything additional associated with this event, but we remain partnered up with the law enforcement from the FBI, ATF, Homeland Security, and that if any threats come about that appear to be credible or not, we will fully investigate those to help ensure that the public that we serve is absolutely safe. I will echo what Dave Bowditch suggested, that this is a team effort. We all have to work together as a team to address situations of this magnitude. We remain committed to working with the FBI, our local partners, as well as our federal partners, to ensure that the resources that are needed are applied to make sure we investigate everything possible and keep the citizens that we serve safe. Thank you.
Sheriff, isn't the concern, though, that there was no credible threat or known credible threat in advance, and then this occurred, and so now we're back to an environment where there's no known credible threat, and could San Bernardino or any other town in the country be facing the same kind of thing happening an hour from now?
Certainly that's the possibility, but crimes across our county and across our state oftentimes occur without any notice. You saw how the men and women of this law enforcement agency, as well as the partners that we work with in our region, performed 2 days ago. Considering how they performed and addressed the issue, I truly believe that we are prepared to deal with whatever threat or incident occurs. Law enforcement is staffed up, as I suggested. Our local law enforcement leaders remain in constant contact with one another. And as I suggested, my top priority, as well as those that stand behind me, is the safety of the public that we serve. Thank you.
Sheriff, on the townhome, Redlands Chief, do you have jurisdiction over the townhome, and have you sealed the townhome?
There you have it right there from the Assistant Director of the FBI in Los Angeles. This is being treated now as an act of terrorism, being investigated as an act of terrorism. A lot of new information in that press conference right now. Brian Ross, the chief said there were a number of pieces of evidence that pushed this off the cliff towards investigating as an act of terror. Right.
In addition to the huge arsenal, the advanced planning, he cited two things. One, the pledge of allegiance to ISIS by the wife there who went into the shooting. We're told it happened just moments after the attack, literally moments after the attack. She went on Facebook to pledge allegiance. In the last 12 hours, the Facebook executive spotted this, took it down, and notified the FBI. And the FBI assistant director also said they've picked up evidence of telephonic communications between one of the shooters and several terror suspects known to the FBI.
Let me take that to our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, in Washington. What will the FBI do now? And I know you're waiting for the FBI director, Mr. Comey, to speak as well, but what will the FBI do now to track through all those telephonic connections, knowing that some of those cell phones were, as the assistant director said, crushed?
They are undergoing an extensive review by their computer forensics analyst, George. That is a top priority. You heard the assistant director talk about that. Also, they have sent some of these pieces of these phones and the hard drive to Quantico. They have an extensive lab in Quantico, Virginia. But George, one key thing that came out of that press conference today, these two people, these two suspects were not on the FBI's radar. And the FBI director has been warning for some time about the potential that ISIS, through a social media campaign, would influence people inside the United States to, as he said, quote, kill, kill, kill. The notion that these people were not under FBI investigation in any form is a serious issue.
It sure is. The LA director said they were not under active surveillance, not under investigation. A couple of other key questions there, Brian Ross. Many questions about the gentleman who bought the guns, the long rifles, for the couple. The assistant director said he's not under arrest, leaving up the suggestion that he is being questioned.
That's right. This is somebody, they know who it is. They've been looking for him. He suggested that person is under custody now, being questioned. He said he's not under arrest yet.
Also investigating an incident on Monday night where it appeared that a movie theater was being cased in some fashion.
Right. Security guards there became suspicious of a man who described as Middle Eastern descent, who asked about showtimes, etc. And then he saw that same man in a different vehicle. He said essentially casing the movie theater. No known connection to what's happened, and this could just be a case of jitters, but it's the kind of thing they urge people today to report to local police if there are any suspicions.
Just before this press conference, the extraordinary scene at the house where this couple was living. Reporters were let inside with cameras, including our own Matt Gutman. Matt, tell us about it.
It was remarkable indeed, George. Just inside that house, holes were punched through. And you walk in, glass was shattered, strewn on the floor. In the kitchen, you could see that a meal looked like it had just been cooked. Further into the living room, there was bedding on a couch, more broken glass, and of great interest to the FBI of what they had taken out, boxes of ammo. In addition to that, invoices. Upstairs, you could see that baby's crib. You could see a computer area nearby. That is something of great importance. A printer nearby as well. The guts of the computer were taken out. FBI obviously trying to go through that. You see a prayer rug on the floor. There were also prayer books all over the house. No other books that we took notice of. Again, you see a closet. There are clothes inside. It seemed like the house of an ordinary family just living. Obviously, all the things to interest of the FBI were taken out, like ammo. Everywhere you look inside that house, you see evidence of a family living a normal life, at least now. Suitcase opened up with bedding inside. It was not the type of place that looked like the den of terrorists. It seemed that in that nursery, that the parents took great care of their child. There are plenty of toys around, but of course that belies the truth of what we know happened inside, all that ammo and all those bombs.
Nursery in one room, stockpile in another. Just remarkable. And, you know, one other thing we should say that the assistant director said that they had no control over that house today. Once they turned it over to the residents, once they had taken everything they needed under the search warrant, they had no control over that house. We're going to continue to follow this, monitor the FBI director's press conference coming up in just a little bit. And, of course, David Muir will be on the scene tonight for World News in San Bernardino. I'm George Stephanopoulos.
This has been a special report from ABC News.